All right, well, we're going to still stick with that NFC East theme. We went from the Cowboys being the top team, and of course you said if the Giants rather, were a team, Andrew, that could actually not shoot themselves in the foot, they'd be better. What about a guy who actually shot his hands off with fireworks? Jason Pierre-Paul loses his index finger, a portion of his thumb, but still says he can be effective. The Giants are saying, look, we're going to have to get a medical doctor here. They put a franchise tag on this guy. He's supposed to make $14 million. I don't see how this marriage works between these two. Can it work? Andrew?
It can. If he's that kind of player that can come back. Guys wear gloves and bandages and one arm playing all the time. This could be one of those instances.
But losing your thumb and your index finger, couldn't that be a little bit more of an actual thing that you need to use, especially when you're trying to shed blockers?
But like I said, the guys are playing with full casts on. They have no use of their arm, and they're just going there doing it anyway. That begs the question, is he the type of player that can do that? We've seen J.J. Watt do it. Well, he's not J.J. Watt, let's be honest. So it would depend on the type of player he comes back to be. I don't know. I never played football. I don't know if I could play like this and just get through. I probably maybe could, but I don't know how much you're going to be great.
Well, Aaron, how does this affect his career going forward now?
Well, I think you've got a pass rusher, an outside pass rusher coming off the line. I think the problem is going to be guys running east-west on him and being able to reach out and grab them. I mean, if a guy's going to his left, well, without that thumb and index finger, it's going to be pretty tough to grab a hold of that jersey on the way by. I mean, it's going to have to be full arm tackles, and that might affect him. I mean, maybe he's going to transition himself into more of an interior lineman. Who knows, but is he big enough to play that position? I mean, that's going to be the case, but I think they've got to take the risk. They have no choice with $14 million a year. They've got to hope that he figures it out and, can be a positive impact on the team, but really that's a time will tell. That's a strange one. I don't think there's any comparable where we've seen it in the past. If you heard about the kicker years ago that was missing toes, well, I haven't heard of a defensive lineman missing fingers that's been able to be effective. So
well, we'll see what happens out there. How about this? I want to talk about the Major League Baseball playoffs. They've been heating up of late, and it's been great to see ever since Major League Baseball decided to add a second wildcard team. But this is where there have been some problems, and Rob Manfred, the commissioner, is starting to listen to some options, perhaps reform the way baseball is in terms of standings, because you have both Pittsburgh and both Chicago, two teams that currently hold wildcard spots that are a little ways. Pittsburgh more so 4 games back of St. Louis, who has the best record. But if you look at both Chicago and Pittsburgh, like I mentioned, wildcard teams in that one-game playoff. But yet they have a better record than half the teams, more than half the teams that are combined going to the playoffs if they started today. So if you look at that, should baseball perhaps maybe go to what the NBA is doing and saying, you know what, the top 4 teams or 5 teams should be going to the playoffs regardless of your division, in this case for baseball. Do you guys agree with that?
I think you're going to have to see a bit of a revamp of the schedule and a little more play outside of the division for that to happen. I mean, they're so heavy in their division through the season where, the Cubs, they might be the best team in their division, but they're the 5th best team in their, in the National League. Well, I mean, it's tough. If they revamp that.
If you're the 2nd best or 3rd best team in baseball, right behind the best team in baseball, but you have to go to a wild card spot, that has to be extremely unfair that you have to get one game, but yet a team that wins maybe 80 games that you have, say, 15, 20 more wins than, you got to think that baseball's got to change things up, right?
Oh, we've talked about it like with football. Teams get 7-9 records and make the playoffs, and the teams with 10-6 don't make the playoffs.
Well, the year the Patriots 11-5, they missed the playoffs.
Yeah, so I've said numerous times I don't like baseball, but what I will watch is playoff baseball. More playoff baseball, I think, is better than a regular season. Cut this schedule down. Like, why are they not playing playoffs right now in September? October playoffs. Top 8 from each team. Get rid of these divisions. Like, I think they're useless in baseball. Some sports they're great. In baseball, I think they're absolutely useless. Go the top 8 teams, play each other like normal. If you want to do best of 5 for the first 2 series, I'm fine with that. But do more playoff baseball, because that's what people want to see is playoffs, and that's the only time I'll ever watch. So
or maybe if you said maybe cut the season down a little bit earlier, or maybe start playoffs a little bit earlier, those wild card teams, should they play maybe a best of 5 in that case?
Well, I think the 1-game playoff's the problem. I mean, if you time it right, you get your ace in that 1-game playoff, you win it, but then you only get him once in a 5-game series after that. Well, I mean, people pay to see the top guys. You want to see that guy pitch in game 1 and game 5 if it goes that far. You know, drag that out. The 1-game playoff, I think, is the problem, and I think that's where we're going to see the changes, at least to a 3, maybe to a 5 game. You know, down there in the States, it's no problem. If they got to go a little farther into November, I think they will, and they won't really care. I mean, it's going to generate them more money, and ultimately that's probably what it's going to come down to is, hey, a few more playoff games, we're going to make a few more $1 billion. Great, let's rock and roll.
We thought John Tortorella's career as a coach would be over. Well, it turns out we thought wrong. Team USA has decided to hire him as their 2016 coach for the World Cup of Hockey, set for that is late fall, once they start in 2016. I like Tortorella. He's crazy enough, and he provides great entertainment. But can he become an NHL coach once again, say in a year or two?
Well, of course you like him. You're a media guy. You like when he goes nuts behind the mic, and you like when he goes, you know, goes off the cuff and just rambles on about things. But I don't know if the players like him. I think that's where they're going to run into a problem. I mean, he's a defensive coach in a World Cup of Hockey tournament that's going to be highly offensive, especially with that under-23 team is only going to go one way. They're not going to know how to play in their own end, so they're only going to go one direction. I don't know if Tortorella is the right fit.
But will he say? But outside of that, will he become a coach in the NHL once again? Like say in a year or two is what I'm asking.
Oh, I think somebody will hire him. I think you're going to see a team, you know, especially if there's expansion coming. Well, that's the best way to have a successful expansion team is play good defensive hockey and stay in these games. I mean, that's going to be the curious thing. But yeah, I think somebody's going to bring him back. He's got too much experience to leave sitting there.
I think he needs to showcase that he can be a different coach. He's used to that old style of hockey, that grit, that blocking shots. But that's such a regular thing now in the NHL that it's not really like he brought that in when he started. He was kind of a major thing turning the Rangers into that. But then everyone starts doing that now. Everyone's blocking shots. Everyone's jumping in front of the puck. So I think, yeah, it's to see what he can do. Can he transition to a more offensive style game? Because that's what the NHL wants. It's an offensive style game. He's going to get that at the World Cup. I don't think he comes back. I really don't. I think what he did in Vancouver and how bad he turned that team out, it's going to be slim for him to try and get a place back.
It's going to determine to see what he does at the World Cup of Hockey. Then he might get a job out of that.
Shut the Sundins down. So that's
there you go. We're going to take a commercial break and return with more Gloves Over Under next.